Sup Canon Knights, welcome back to another episode of Halo Canon. Today we're going to be going over the Forerunners saga and the Halo 4 terminals. If anyone is wondering, I do not plan to do a proper review of Halo Silentium. I honestly don't think I'd be able to do justice to such an amazing book, and I believe what I'm doing here today to be a much more worthwhile endeavor. Suffice it to say, Silentium was an amazing book, a 10 out of 10, and a must-read for any Halo fan whether you've read the rest of the Forerunner books or not. So, you might be wondering exactly what you're going to be watching here today. Simply put, we have another timeline, but the format is somewhat different from the Battle of Reach timeline. I'll be going over events detailed in the Forerunner saga, Halo 4's terminals, and since it's relevant to this timeline, the Halo 3 terminals. Due to the inclusion of the last set of terminals, this timeline will contain a lot of conjecture and not too many, if any, definite dates. I'll also be providing a bit of non-standard commentary about certain events and why I feel they fit where they do. So, without further delay, let's talk Forerunner. Millions of years ago, at a time unknown, Precursors create various and numerous forms of life. Many are examined to see if they are fit to carry the mantle of responsibility, and many fail. Eventually the Forerunners are tested, but are told that they are unworthy. The Precursors say that they are going to give the chance to humanity. According to some Forerunners, the Precursors were going to exterminate the Forerunners as they had other species who had failed. In response, the Forerunners rose up to eliminate them. According to another account, the Forerunners rose up unprovoked. In either case, the Precursors marveled at the sheer ferocity of the Forerunners. After years of extermination, the Precursors flee the Milky Way for the Large Magellanic Cloud, a smaller microgalaxy somewhere outside our own. A fleet of Forerunner ships is sent to finish the job while most of the Forerunner race stays in the Milky Way. Some in the fleet refuse to follow orders, resulting in many killed and others exiled. When the last of the Precursors were killed, the Forerunners who had hunted them down decided to kill themselves out of shame. The Forerunners in the Milky Way would remain unaware of the fate of this fleet and never investigate. The journey would eventually fade into legend. Unknown to the Forerunners, some Precursors escape by putting themselves into stasis capsules, while others turn themselves into a powdered form to be resuscitated at a later time. Before 150,000 BCE, the Forerunners are forced to leave their home system due to a stellar engineering accident. When attempting to manipulate several stars, stellar engineers accidentally set off a series of supernovae, rendering several systems uninhabitable and burning their own planet to a crisp. This nearly wipes out the Forerunner race. Approximately 150,000 BCE, Forerunners rise as the dominant power in the Milky Way galaxy. Around this time, humanity also rises as a powerful spacefaring race, but move their civilization outward along the galactic arm, most likely to escape Forerunner expansion. With their rise to power, the Forerunners take up the mantle of responsibility for all life, believing it had been passed to them by the Precursors. 125,000 BCE, the Forerunner capital is constructed. Before 111,000 BCE, humanity forms an alliance with the San Shayum. At the outer edges of the galaxy, on planets both inhabited and uninhabited, humans and San Shayum find ancient ships containing capsules full of a mysterious powder. The powder is found to be inert except when applied to Feru, an alien pet favored by humans and San Shayum. Initially, the Feru seemed more domestic, but unknown to the humans and San Shayum, the powder is changing the Feru on a genetic level. Centuries later, Feru develop physical mutations and start cannibalizing each other. Humans and San Shayum who own Feru as pets begin to exhibit similar behavior. Too late, humans and San Shayum see the infection spreading, taking over entire worlds. Humans and San Shayum begin their war against the Flood. They burn entire worlds to stop the Flood, be they human, San Shayum, or Forerunner. Approximately 111,000 BCE. The Forerunners believe humanity to be aggressively expanding into their territory. After much debate, the Forerunners send their warrior servants against humanity and the San Shayum forces. Sometime before 110,050 BCE, the humans continue fighting the Flood while also taking on Forerunner forces. After centuries of fighting, a new commander takes power of human forces, Forthenko, the Lord of Admirals. Approximately 110,050 BCE. Humanity is pushed back to the core of their empire at Charum Hakor. Approximately 110,040 BCE. Near the outskirts of the galaxy, human scientists find an ancient capsule containing an unknown being. The being is brought back to Charum Hakor and revived. To keep the being at bay, a time lock is installed. Ypres Ypres and her team begin to interview the being, known as the Primordial, seeking answers about it and the Flood. Some of the answers so horrify those present that many kill themselves. When the answers are leaked, the morale of human forces begins to drop. Still, with Ypres' help, humanity is able to stand tall against the Forerunners, even as they battle the Flood. Eventually, humanity is able to coax the solution to the Flood from the captive. Sacrificing 1/3 of their population, humanity purposely infects some of their numbers to counteract the Flood. Approximately 110,000 BCE. After many decades of war and a 3-year standoff at Charum Hakor, humanity is finally defeated by the Forerunners. Many humans in San Shayum kill themselves rather than surrender to the Forerunners. To avert severe punishment, most Silentium had allied with the Forerunners years before, contributing to humanity's ultimate defeat at Charm Hakor. The Flood, initially thought by Forerunner forces to be an excuse by humans for their acts, is discovered to be a fact. Scared by this truth and dumbfounded by humanity's triumph over the Flood, human survivors including the Lord of Admirals Forthenko and Iprikushma are composed, their essence and memories preserved. The human species as a whole is devolved, their former glory wiped from the galaxy and the species relocated to Earth. The Silentium are put under quarantine in their local system, confined to 2 planets. They are not, however, devolved. After 110,000 BCE. With humanity taken care of but the threat of the Flood still a real possibility, the Forerunners look to fight in the probable return of the Flood. The Librarian is put in charge of all Flood research. Over the next 9,000 years, builders and warrior servants would face off with each other over methods to fight off the Flood. The builders, led by the Master Builder Faber, favored the Halo Array, which would wipe out all life to stop the Flood. The warrior servants, led by the Didact, favored shield worlds, which would allow them to seal off infected worlds, preserve species, and can be used as shelters. One measure to ensure efficiency against the Flood is the creation of the first contender-class AI Mendicant Bias. This is a joint operation between the Master Builder and the Didact. Note: the Halo 3 terminals mention Mendicant Bias's creation, but imply that it happened centuries into the Forerunner Flood War. Seeing as the Forerunner books are newer, their word carries more weight in terms of canon. In-universe, it could be explained that Mendicant Bias's memories were corrupted over the centuries and spent in isolation, and/or as a side effect of the Logic Plague. Approximately 101,000 BCE. After years of politics and fighting, the Master Builder wins over the Old Council with his Halos, in part by proposing that they could be used to preserve species, along with the Ark, the extragalactic forge for the Halos. The Council agrees and puts the Librarian in charge of these new measures. The Didact is ordered to stop construction of his shield worlds and submit to the Master Builder. The Didact refuses. Some warrior servants avoid punishment by switching to the Builder rate and becoming Builder security. Others remain loyal to the Didact. To avoid further shame, the Didact goes into exile. The Master Builder, now in a position of great power, proposes that another Ark be built, where new Halos that would improve upon the flaws of the original array could be built, but this wouldn't be done for several hundred years. This second Ark and array would be kept secret from most Forerunners, even the most high-ranking, and Mendicant Bias. The Librarian proposes an expedition to Path Chthona, the large Magellanic Cloud, suspecting it to be the origin point of the Flood. Such a trip is rumored to have taken place millions of years ago, and the truth of this trip and the origins of the Flood would be confirmed. Approximately 100,300 BCE. The Flood appear on G617G. Also known as Seaward, the planet is a secret sanctuary where rich Forerunners could live more natural lives, free of their armor. 2 Forerunner officials, the Auditor and the Prelate, receive a report concerning the arrival of the Flood. The Auditor makes a request to contact the Didact, though his request would never be fulfilled. A pioneering group sent to G617G is lost, and a follow-up group is sent. It is presumed that both groups are consumed by the Flood, and military action is taken. So begins the Forerunner Flood War. Note: whether these groups were sent by the Auditor and the Prelate or by some other administrative group is unknown. Approximately 100,100 BCE. On one of the Halo rings containing human specimens, the Master Builder orders experiments to find out how and why some humans are immune to the Flood. Approximately 100,043 BCE. Mendicant Bias, under instructions from the Master Builder and the Forerunner Council, test fires a Halo near Charm Hakor. The Halo effect destroys the Precursor ruins of the planet and frees the Precursor, known as the Primordial, imprisoned there. The Primordial is taken aboard the Halo. The Master Builder then instructs Mendicant Bias to study the Flood for weaknesses and to converse with the Primordial. Along with Mendicant Bias and the Primordial, this ring houses several human populations, along with Forerunner lifeworkers, builders, and warrior servants. New human species are collected from Earth and stored on the Ark. Before 100,000 BCE. The Primordial merges with the Flood and becomes a Gravemind. It continues to converse with Mendicant Bias, who is sending reports back to the Master Builder, though most of these would never be read until years later. Experiments on human resistance to Flood infection continue. Note: it is never stated if the Primordial was a Gravemind before it was brought to the Halo, but considering its altered appearance between Primordium and Cryptum, and the fact that the Flood is an accidental result of Precursors turning themselves into dust, it isn't an unsafe assumption. Why would a Gravemind exist before the Flood did, when the Flood was an accident? Note: while Halo 3's terminals say that Mendicant Bias was sending reports about its conversations with the Flood back to the Forerunner Ecumen, these reports are unknown to the new Council in Cryptum. It's possible these reports were sent to the Old Council and the Master Builder, or the Master Builder alone, and kept secret until near the end of the war. These reports will be used in some form by Offensive Bias in its final fight with Mendicant Bias, so they do exist in some form. Again, a possible in-universe explanation for this discrepancy is memory degradation due to Mendicant Bias's time in isolation. Approximately 100,000 BCE, the final years and the fall of the Forerunner Ecumen. The Librarian indexes the Silentium and their planet as part of the conservation measure. This sparks unrest among the population. When the Master Builder arrives later, the Silentium would rebel against his forces. The Didact is awoken on Earth by a young Forerunner Midibular. Born Stellar makes Eternal Lasting with the help of 2 humans. Chalkus and Day Chaser makes Path's long stretch Morning Riser, or Riser for short. Both humans were following a Gaia imprinted by the Librarian. With the Didact awake, the four begin a journey to find out why the Librarian had the Didact awoken and what the present state of the galaxy is. Upon arriving in the Silentium system, the Didact meets an old friend and mentor, the Confirmer. He requests to go to the Silentium homeworld but is turned over, along with Born Stiller, Chalkus, and Riser, to the Master Builder. The Master Builder summons Menikin Bias and his Halo Ring to the system. Some Silentium are captured and imprisoned, but most are exterminated when the Master Builder has Menikin Bias fire the Halo. Fighting breaks out on Menikin Bias' Halo Ring between Forerunner rates and factions over the firing of the Halo Ring. The Master Builder interrogates the Didact, then leaves him in a flood-infected system known as the Burn, with 3 other Forerunners found to be problematic to the Master Builder. Chalkus and Riser are left on Menikin Bias' Halo, which again disappears. Born Stiller is returned to his family but has been imprinted with the Didact's knowledge and personality, and now knows of the Flood. The unauthorized use of a Halo causes some of the old Council to step down in protest, allowing a new Council to take over. The Master Builder, his proper name Faber, is stripped of rank and arrested for crimes against the Mantle. 11 of the 12 Halo Rings are brought to the Forerunner capital and the Master Builder is put on trial. Born Stiller is brought in as a witness in place of the Didact. Menikin Bias shows up with the missing Halo Ring and proceeds to attack the capital. Born Stiller and a few Forerunners, along with 1 Halo Ring, are able to escape to the Greater Arc. At the capital, Forerunner forces engage Halo Rings as Menikin Bias tries to fire them. Most are destroyed, though Menikin Bias is able to fire his Halo. The Halo then retreats to the far edges of the galaxy. Born Stiller and other survivors of the attack on the Citadel arrive at the Greater Arc. Born Stiller, whose personality is now dominated by the Didact's imprint, meets his wife, the Librarian, and is put in charge of Forerunner defenses. He would eventually take on the title ISO Didact. The ISO Didact and a Forerunner fleet track down and reclaim the missing Halo Ring. The Ring, having followed pre-programmed instructions to crash on an uninhabited planet if it went rogue, is saved by the ISO Didact. The Ring, being unstable, is forced to shed heavily damaged sections, turning from a 30,000 km ring to a more familiar 10,000 km ring. Reuniting with Chalkus and Riser, the ISO Didact finds that Chalkus has been severely injured during his time on the Ring. The ISO Didact uses a device called the Composer to transfer Chalkus' memories into a monitor body. The Primordial and Menikin Bias are captured. Menikin Bias is deactivated and disassembled into its disparate parts and scattered across the Ecumen for later study. The ISO Didact, accompanied by the now monitor Chalkus, interrogates the Primordial and eventually executes it. Survivors on the rogue Halo Ring are evacuated, Forerunners rejoin their kind, and humans are transported to the Greater Arc. The once rogue ring is redesignated Installation 07 and sent to an unknown location to await activation of the array. A new council takes power over the Ecumen, and the Didact shield worlds are reconsidered. Use of the Halo array is delayed. Catalog, a collective of Forerunner agents, is dispatched. Sometime during this era, a privileged Forerunner named Filial Devotion joins the fight against the Flood. Sometime during this era, Monitor Chalkus oversees the conversion of a Forerunner gas mine into a Flood research facility. Almost a year after the fall of the Citadel, the juridical raid is given complete access to the Ecumen, investigating the attack on the Citadel, origins of the Flood, and the fate of the Precursors. The Librarian and ISO Didact are interviewed by Catalog as they arrive near Earth for final specimen collections. The ISO Didact leaves when the Flood are detected in the sector to defend the Ecumen. The two wouldn't see each other for 4 years, but would remain in contact. The original Didact, now designated the Ura Didact, awakens in the Burn with 3 other Forerunners. 2 of the Forerunners try to escape, while the Ura Didact and Catalog decide to stay behind to confront the Flood. The Ura Didact is interrogated by a grave mine and corrupted. He would be placed in a ship where Faber, who had been secretly fighting the Flood since the attack on the capital, would find him. Catalog is also interrogated and finds that Menikin Bias has been recovered and reactivated by the Flood. Catalog is corrupted by the logic plague that affected Menikin Bias and has since been affecting other Forerunner and Scylla. With Precursor technology at their disposal, the Flood further dominate dwindling Forerunner forces. Juridicals interview the Ura Didact and Faber. The Ura Didact, who had repressed his encounter with the Gravemind in the Burn, is forced to remember the hell he encountered. The corruption the Gravemind hoped to instill takes hold. The Ura Didact returns to Requiem to try and find immunity from the Flood. After several experiments which change the Ura Didact's appearance, remaining Prometheans and warrior servants loyal to the Ura Didact volunteer to be composed and transformed into an artificial army to fight the Flood. The Ura Didact accepts, though due to his new form being immune to the Composer, remains in his organic form. The Ura Didact begins fighting the Flood on his own, and while successful, he finds his forces are too small to do any real damage to the Flood's forces. The Librarian, convinced she has done all she can, pleads with the ISO Didact to activate the Halo array. He refuses. 4 years since the ISO Didact and the Librarian had seen each other, the two meet with the Ura Didact. The current capital system is attacked by the Flood, forcing the remnants of Forerunner society to retreat to the Greater Arc. Menikin Bias begins to plan an attack on this arc. At the Greater Arc, the Master Builder's rank is reinstated and it is decided that the Halo array must be used. The ISO Didact is tasked with this. The Flood arrives and surrounds the Greater Arc and the nearby Omega Halo, the last of the original 12-ring array, with the Star Roads. Lifeworkers begin moving specimens off the Greater Arc and Omega Halo for transport to the Lesser Arc, Installation 00. Before the humans can be moved, the Ore Didact composes the humans on Omega Halo, killing most of the remaining human population. The Master Builder and most of the remaining Forerunners move to Omega Halo's Cartographer. The Master Builder gives the ISO Didact coordinates to the Lesser Arc and primes Omega Halo to fire. Omega Halo fires, wiping out all sentient life and destroying any precursor artifacts in past Chthona, the large Magellanic Cloud. An escape path is made in the surrounding star roads, allowing the Ur Didact and Librarian to escape. Before the ISO Didact can escape, his ship is destroyed by the star roads. Luckily, he and Catalog are saved by Monitor Chakas and taken aboard a gargantuan-class vessel containing the last humans, Forerunner lifeworkers, and many specimens from the conservation measure. Waiting for an opportune moment, the gargantuan-class vessel is able to escape and retreats to the Lesser Arc. The Greater Arc and Omega Halo are destroyed by the Star Roads. The Librarian follows the Ore Didact to Requiem. She encounters the last uncomposed Promethean and convinces this Promethean to help her put the Ore Didact into Cryptum, hoping to help heal his madness. After, the Librarian leaves an imprint of herself in the Shield World's ancillary systems. With this, she takes control of the Promethean constructs and other systems, should anyone or anything seek out the Didact before he is ready to awaken. With the help of Catalog, the Librarian contacts the ISO Didact at the Lesser Arc, asking him to send the Gargantuan-class vessel to Earth. The ISO Didact complies, and prepares to send the 6 Halo rings to their destinations. Installation 07 had been placed not long after the ISO Didact had recovered it. Final index distribution begins. Monitor Chakas is given the designation 343 Guilty Spark and made caretaker of Installation 04. The Librarian arrives at Earth, meeting with another Forerunner, Chantigreen, who had been sent ahead to gather more humans. The Librarian sends Chantigreen and the collected humans to the Lesser Arc and passes on her title of Life Shaper to Chant. The Librarian remains on Earth to construct a portal to the Arc from the Gargantuan-class ship and to draw the Flood away from the Lesser Arc. The Halo array is distributed throughout the galaxy. Monitor Chakas is replaced by the personality of 343 Guilty Spark and forgets his time as a human. The Librarian, as she builds the portal, communicates with the ISO Didact. She tells him that the Flood is heading his way. She remotely destroys any remaining unsecured keyships so the Flood cannot use them to find the Lesser Arc. The ISO Didact is informed by Offensive Bias that Menikin Bias had offered it to change sides. Menikin Bias sends out a message across the Ecumen judging the Forerunners and declaring their downfall. The Librarian starts the process of dismantling the Gargantuan-class Forerunner ship. It buries itself and will build the portal over hundreds of years. The Librarian is confronted by ancient humans, resurrected by the Flood. They reveal that the domain is in fact a precursor construct, the organon that Born Stellar had sought before becoming the ISO Didact. Without the domain, the Ore Didact would spend 100,000 years with only his madness to comfort him. Without the domain, there was no hope for him. The Librarian tries to warn the ISO Didact about this with the help of Catalog. Menikin Bias and his fleet of Flood cross the Magenosphere and begin battle with Offensive Bias. The ISO Didact laments over his forced choice to fire the Halo array. Nevertheless, the array is activated, killing all life, all Flood, and destroying all precursor artifacts. 3 minutes after the array is fired, Menikin Bias is defeated. On the Ark, the surviving Forerunners watch over the living specimens of all life in the galaxy. Many personally mingle with the humans, including the new Life Shaper, Chantigreen, and the ISO Didact. Part of Menikin Bias' personality array is sent to the Ark to stand trial. The contender is found guilty and buried in a tomb beneath the sands of the Ark. It is allowed one thought until the day it can awaken: atonement. Another part of Menikin Bias was stored on or would later make its way to one of the surviving keyships to be found by the San Shayun. After a time, the various species on the Ark are sent back to their home worlds and the galaxy is reseeded. The ISO Didact says his final farewell to Riser. The remaining Forerunners go into exile as part of their atonement. On Earth, a human named Inchala watches as Retriever Sentinels construct the portal to the Ark. Whew! Well, there we have it, the complete Forerunner timeline. I must remind everyone that this is filled with a lot of conjecture, even more so than my Reach timeline. Sadly, not everything fits together as well as it did for Reach, and in regards to the Halo 3 content, I could be, and probably am, way off. Everything else, though, I'm pretty confident about. Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed the ride. This has been Halo Canon, and I'll see you next time.